One of the key allegations in her complaint against Justin Baldoni was as follows, okay, from paragraph 48 of her complaint. She writes, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Ms. Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good."
There's an amazing fact here in that this TikToker, Marcos, who runs the Be Better company, actually was Team Blake Lively when this all began. And then did this crazy thing called reading Justin Baldoni's countersuit and was like, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, but everything that I'm reading here points to the fact that Blake Lively manipulated her audiences and lied to her audiences.
The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail. The majority of things that we're buying are created by men. You always learn more from your failures than you do your successes. I love creating, and I think that as women, you're not often given authorship, yet women represent 85% of people making purchases in homes across all categories.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
Yep.
And she's dressing in florals. And then she's going on this press tour, pushing her liquor line.
Blake Lively often appears so poised that it's hard to imagine she might be struggling behind the scenes. Yet over the years, numerous rumors have surfaced about her alleged temper, flustered breakdowns, and moments of total collapse when the cameras weren't rolling. The rumors vary. Some revolve around intense confrontations on movie sets, while others depict more subtle but equally revealing episodes at high-profile events. Critics argue that these stories conflict with the polished figure most people see in interviews and on social media, prompting the question, is Blake Lively simply misunderstood, or is there a hidden pattern that points to deeper issues? In the early days of her career, whispers about sudden outbursts or episodes of shutting down were brushed off as part of the ordinary stress any entertainer faces. After all, being thrust into the limelight can challenge even the most grounded individuals. Yet, as her fame grew, so did the tales of bizarre meltdowns. It started with minor anecdotes of Blake getting snappy with publicists or going uncharacteristically silent for entire days after a tough shoot. Sources claimed these weren't simple mood swings, but rather hints at something bigger looming beneath her calm exterior. Even more intriguing are the reported meltdown moments that have leaked into the tabloids. Some revolve around heated on-set arguments, while others describe Blake abruptly leaving an event to regroup in a back room. Together, these anecdotes weave a narrative of a woman battling personal pressures, even as she projects a sunny, composed image to the world. And as we dive deeper, you'll see how each episode connects to controversies, both personal and professional, that add fuel to the rumor mill. In show business, most celebrities go through stressful periods where tempers flare. But the buzz around Blake Lively's early career suggests her tension may have gone beyond ordinary frustrations. Reports first started circulating when crew members on small sets, long before her breakout role, mentioned sudden changes in her demeanor. They described incidents where, after appearing warm and gracious, she would unexpectedly snap or grow anxious if things didn't go exactly as planned. Over time, these smaller stories multiplied. There was the tale of how she once locked herself in her trailer for hours because a makeup choice made her uncomfortable. Another rumor suggested she harshly berated a stylist and then dissolved into tears, apologizing profusely minutes later. None of these incidents by themselves would ring alarm bells, but together they painted a portrait of someone whose polished exterior might crack under pressure. The question many asked was, were these normal outbursts or signs of deeper turmoil that would intensify as her career soared? What made these rumors harder to dismiss was that they aligned with other controversies unfolding in the background. While most fans were enthralled by her style and screen presence, industry insiders were less forgiving. They started to label her as temperamental, pointing to the near-constant tension that surrounded her. And as more people spoke up, some anonymously, about the unpredictability they witnessed, it sparked debates on whether these unhinged stories had more substance than her PR team liked to admit. Behind the scenes, colleagues noted her tendency to bounce between extremes, excessive friendliness at one moment, followed by a stressed, distant vibe the next. These shifts, they claimed, sometimes led to meltdown moments where she'd retreat and refuse to interact for the rest of the day. Were they glimpses of an overwhelmed actress grappling with early fame, or red flags of something more unsettling? Either way, these early signs set the stage for the much bigger scandals that eventually overtook her career narrative. When Blake Lively married Ryan Reynolds on a former plantation, the public reaction was intense. Critics pointed out that celebrating such a joyous occasion in a place with a history of enslavement was tone-deaf. Reports claim she was so overwhelmed by the criticism that she nearly had a breakdown during one press event when a journalist brought up the location. Some say she left the stage abruptly, leaving publicists scrambling to do damage control. Adding to the chatter were remarks she supposedly made about loving antebellum fashion, describing certain slavery-era attire as romantic. Critics argued that these sentiments glossed over centuries of brutal oppression. Many fans expressed dismay that someone with such a large platform would admire a period marked by suffering without acknowledging the grim historical context. Tensions rose to the point where, during a promotional event, Blake was allegedly asked a direct question about these controversies and became so flustered that she walked off, tears welling up, refusing to speak to press for the remainder of the day. Ultimately, her reaction to these controversies became almost as newsworthy as the controversies themselves. Fans saw video clips of her looking visibly shaken, voice trembling, whenever reporters brought up the Plantation wedding. Her public statements often seemed cautious and at times contradictory, fueling the notion that her anxiety was escalating. This period was a turning point. The once unblemished public darling found herself fighting battles on multiple fronts: personal, professional, and social, while the specter of another meltdown hovered over her every public appearance. The TV show Gossip Girl propelled Blake Lively to new heights of fame, but rumors suggest that the sweet, fashionable character she portrayed was worlds apart from the off-camera turmoil stirring behind the scenes. Accounts vary from minor spats with co-stars to more serious claims, including allegations that Blake made off-color jokes, some referencing monkeys, aimed at castmates. While these stories have never been confirmed by official statements, they've circulated enough to stick in the public consciousness, especially among fans who followed every bit of Gossip Girl gossip. One of the most talked-about conflicts is her rumored tension with co-star Leighton Meester, who portrayed Blair Waldorf. Despite the show capitalizing on their on-screen chemistry, insiders claim that real-life friction flared up whenever cameras stopped rolling. Allegedly, Blake made cutting remarks about Leighton's past, and there was one instance where she apparently stormed off set after a heated exchange, culminating in a meltdown moment that left everyone stunned. Cast members have declined to speak openly, but anonymous production staff have hinted that Blake's outbursts were not rare. Some recalled a particularly tense day of shooting that ended when Blake locked herself in her dressing room, refusing to resume filming until certain demands were met, demands that were never made public. These behind-the-scenes riffs escalated to the point where press tours became a minefield. Reports claim that during one overseas promotional event, Blake lashed out at a castmate over a small miscommunication, shouting accusations before dissolving into tears. Hotel staff allegedly heard the commotion through the walls. Although accounts differ as to what started the argument, nearly everyone agrees that by the end of the night, Blake was too distraught to continue the tour schedule. She canceled appearances the following morning, stating she felt ill, leaving her co-stars to field awkward questions about her absence. Even in post-Gossip Girl interviews, the tension lingered. Observers recall carefully choreographed press junkets where Blake and certain co-stars were kept separate, presumably to avoid friction. Meanwhile, she tried to maintain her amiable, down-to-earth image in public, carefully sidestepping mentions of behind-the-scenes drama. Beyond the set dramas, Blake Lively's fascination with dragons became a talking point among insiders who found her Game of Thrones comparisons oddly intense. She was known to reference Daenerys Targaryen in interviews, likening herself to a queen with dragons at her command. While some fans found it amusing, rumors within the industry suggested that her fixation went beyond casual fandom. There were anecdotes of her telling people she could channel dragon-like energy to get what she wanted. On at least one occasion, sources say she roared in jest when a discussion wasn't going her way, only to follow it up with a mortified apology moments later. Yet the laughter around these stories always carried an edge. Were these simply playful antics, or glimpses into an unsteady mind grappling with power dynamics? In parallel, a tangled legal feud with actor and producer Justin Baldoni erupted, adding another layer of chaos to Blake's public image. According to rumors, the dispute ranged from offhand insults about his appearance, allegedly made by Blake, to a heated disagreement over project credits. The situation escalated to the point where Baldoni reportedly received legal papers at a profoundly inconvenient time, fueling suspicion that Blake had orchestrated the service to gain the upper hand. Insiders claim that Blake's meltdown during this lawsuit phase was among her most severe. She was said to have confronted Baldoni's representatives in an unplanned hallway encounter, voice trembling with anger, where she demanded a retraction of certain statements she believed damaging to her reputation. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic, with her emotions teetering between fury and desperation. Moments later, she was seen retreating behind closed doors, presumably to regain her composure, leaving bystanders baffled. These lawsuits and disputes broadened the conversation about Blake's intentions. Skeptics argued that her actions were calculated, employing dramatic flair to manipulate outcomes or intimidate adversaries. Meanwhile, supporters insisted her behavior was a natural response from a star feeling cornered by relentless criticism. Either way, the net result was the same. The public saw a side of Blake increasingly marked by agitation and erratic episodes, no longer confined to hush-hush rumors, but emerging in legal battles and front-page headlines. Adding to the swirl of controversy were claims that she thrived on these showdowns, almost as though a part of her identity had become intertwined with constant conflict. The dragon imagery, once brushed off as harmless fandom, took on a new meaning, representing a fearsome persona who wouldn't hesitate to strike when feeling threatened. Each lawsuit, each confrontation, and each meltdown chipped away at her carefully crafted image, suggesting that the Blake Lively seen on red carpets might be only one piece of a far more multifaceted puzzle. As Blake Lively's controversies mounted, her personal relationships also came under scrutiny. Rumor had it that she enabled or even concealed shady situations within her inner circle, including alleged affairs or questionable behavior among close friends. One of the most persistent stories involved Hugh Jackman, who found himself at the center of divorce rumors. Whispers circulated that Blake had information about these marital troubles and chose to keep quiet, even encouraging a don't ask, don't tell atmosphere, leading some to accuse her of facilitating emotional harm for the sake of preserving her social circle. Such rumors escalated to claims that Blake would fiercely guard secrets to protect her image. In some accounts, she went to extraordinary lengths to deflect blame or suspicion from her inner circle, further fueling talk of manipulative tendencies. Several insiders insisted that whenever her loyalty was questioned, she would erupt in anger or else freeze people out entirely. That pattern, they say, was part of why old friends started distancing themselves. Nobody wanted to be close to someone who could allegedly swing from supportive confidant to meltdown mode in a blink. An especially charged rumor emerged about how she reacted when close associates confronted her on personal matters. One anecdote claims that a friend tried to address Blake's controlling behavior, particularly her inclination to improve people's looks and mannerisms. According to this story, Blake exploded at the suggestion that she was overstepping boundaries, demanding an immediate apology. The confrontation ended with her storming out of a dinner, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Moments like these, repeated over time, added to the speculation that her outward grace masked a need for control that would snap under pressure. Even romantic relationships were not exempt from the drama. Although her marriage to Ryan Reynolds seemed picture-perfect to the outside world, rumor mills churned with chatter about how the Plantation wedding backlash tested their bond. Some say that after public criticism peaked, Blake had an emotional collapse behind closed doors, angrily blaming everyone from event planners to her own circle for not foreseeing the negative reaction. Ryan, for his part, has remained discreet, but occasional quotes hint at them both learning from mistakes and moving forward. an implicit acknowledgement that the controversy weighed heavily on them. As the story continues to unfold, there's always more to discover. Thanks for tapping in now. Like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you're the first to know when more secrets come to light.